Good morning, afternoon, and evening to you all. I hope you're ready to take your ears around the world. Whether it be the vivacious and lively music of Latin America, the complex and distinctive sounds of the Balkans, or the emotionally diverse music of Asia, we'll go through it all. So tune in and join me in following the Sounds That Travel.
Welcome to the first episode of Sounds That Travel, and since it's the first episode, I thought I would dive into a little bit about who I am and what we do here. My name is Alex Crooks, and I absolutely love music, whether it's bringing people together and listening to it, finding new artists myself. And so what this podcast dives into is ethnomusicology, which is a really, really big fancy word to say world music. Most of you listening could probably name most of the top artists here in the United States. However, that's just a small corner of the world. We've got everywhere to look for different music, artists, genres. I don't know about you, but I find it fascinating. And so the goal here is to just introduce people to new stuff. It's always good to learn new things, and music is something that brings us all together. So sit back, learn a few things for a couple minutes, and listen to some good music. Today, we're traveling south towards Central and South America to discuss one of the most popular musical genres of the area, cumbia. The history of cumbia is incredibly complex, and it dates back to Colombia during the colonial period. Don't worry, we won't be talking about Bruno, but we do have to get into Colombia to really dive into why cumbia is so interesting. When cumbia was originated in Colombia after Spanish colonizers, it wasn't even a music genre at the time. It was dance. It was just a style of dance, and it was to mimic the Colombia's Spanish colonizers at the time. So it was a courtship dance. And traditionally how it would work is couples would dance in a circle around musicians, and it's, to note, musicians weren't a part of cumbia, it was the dance. So the women would shuffle around while the men would move in this sort of zigzag pattern. And as we moved on through history, Colombia in the 1900s, the instruments that were played during the dance started to be more attributed to it as a whole conglomerate of a genre. So we had tambor alegre, llamador, tambor, which were drums, and then the gajitas, which were flutes. Those were sort of added to the sound in the genre. And so you might have heard something like this at the time. So now that we've developed cumbia as an actual genre of music, initially it was solely instrumental, much like what you're hearing now, so no voices, singers, none of that stuff. And rhythmically, it initially followed that of Afro-Cuban music, so it's triple pulse, duple pulse, you either count it in 3 or 2, but now they follow more of Latin styles, so it's incorporating offbeats and improvisation. And now the reason that cumbia has all these Latin influences, despite it being initially from Afro-Cuban Spanish colonizers, is because during the 1940s and 50s, cumbia started to have this orchestral big band sound. So it's a lot of the musical trends that were also occurring in the United States. And so cumbia is initially in Colombia, but it makes its way towards being a more well-known genre. And just geographically speaking, it made its way to Mexico fairly quick. And while we're on the topic of Mexico, we have to bring up Luis Carlos Mayer. So Luis is considered to be the person that brought cumbia to Mexico, and it made the genre super, super popular. So we're gonna take a quick listen to his song La Historia, and you can really see that big band type feel with it.
Corazón te viera, si el corazón te viera, y ya pudiera ver como lo tengo yo, me pediría llorando que le diera por toda su maldad el perdón de Dios. No puedo olvidar a esa.
Like I said, Luis was considered to be the forefather of cumbia, and he was even considered to be the first person to make a cumbia-style album outside of Colombia, which is really, really cool. And so once that was formed, cumbia really started to spark and grow, and so there were a ton of different bands and groups that were really using this sort of style. We have La Sonora Dinamita, which is this Colombian band formed in the 60s, and it's one of the first cumbia music groups that really gained popularity, which we're going to take a quick listen to right now.
Yo me llamo cumbia, yo soy la reina por donde voy. No hay una cadera que se esté quieta donde yo estoy. Mi piel es morena como los cueros de mi tambor.
Much like Luis, La Sonora Dinamita really helped ramp up the popularity of cumbia. And here's the fun thing, that was from 2019. So they've been making music since the 60s and they're still putting out stuff. And I don't even think that sounded old. I thought it sounded really, really fun. You could dance to it. That's kind of the point, right? So that's a lot of more Colombian and Mexican styles of cumbia, but there's so much more out there. There's chicha, which is a Peruvian cumbia, and it's more percussion and rhythms with high-pitched surf-style guitars, a lot of like psychedelic rock. But then there's also cumbia rebajada, which is a little bit of a slower tempo. There's also cumbia sonidera, which emphasizes the guacharaca. And the guacharaca is this tube-like instrument, and it's got these ridges on the side. And what you do is you take a pole of some sort, and you just scrape it. The noise that it makes is very reminiscent of the bird, guacharaca, same name, and it's originally from Colombia. So it's really cool that even now we're using cumbia's source from Colombia and driving different instruments, different styles from it. And I want to travel a little bit back to when we brought up Luis, because the song that we heard earlier includes the guacharaca pretty prominently. It's just a scraping noise. You'll be able to hear it. We talked about the past of cumbia, but where is this music at now? In Latin America, a lot of the pop music takes influence from all around the world, incorporating both that and their own personal urban sounds. So keeping cumbia's percussive beat alive can be difficult to accomplish. But in recent years, there's been this boom of Latin pop millennial artists that have kept cumbia as a core part of its sound. Even then, they're still including those other inspirations that we talked about earlier. And what I find most fascinating is that this genre that is over a century old is still able to evolve and remain a constant aspect of Latin American culture. And if you're interested in learning more or listening to more of these types of artists, we talked about La Sonora Dinamita, there's also Tina, and then there's Rombay, which we're going to take a little quick listen to, just to give you an idea of what current cumbia music is like.
No soy un santo, tú lo sabes, no me aguanto. Juego, pero a ti te quiero tanto. Tú eres igual, no lo vas a negar. Alguna cosita no la tienes.
All of this is to say is that cumbia is so diverse culturally, musically, even geographically, to the point that you'll probably find something in this genre that you're going to like. I've only shown you bits and pieces, but all it takes is a quick search around to find something that you like. It's never a bad thing to learn about music or find some other artists that you like. So I definitely implore you to search around and see what's out there. That is all I have for today's episode. We visited Latin America and dove into the rich and diverse culture of cumbia, its history, and where it's at today. If you have any suggestions of where you want to go next, let me know. I love learning about new music, and I love sharing it with all of you.
Thank you so much for joining me this morning, afternoon, or evening. Wherever you are and wherever you're going, join us next time as we go and follow the sounds that travel.